Greetings, Hermes Press fans, from Dan Herman, publisher of Hermes Press. Guess what we've got? Finally, after many months of waiting, the Phantom Charlton #5, the final issue of our complete Phantom comic book series reprints. Now, as many of you know, this particular book features the work of Don Newton. And Don Newton is one of my personal favorite artists to work on the Phantom. As with all Hermes Press books, this book has a printed laminated cover. The back has the cover for one of my favorite stories. And of course the dust jacket, which comes off, which protects the printed laminated cover. Now this book presents the last Phantom stories done, which concluded in 1976. With a really, really fine story by Don Newton involving the Phantom, who goes to America, meets Ben Franklin, frees someone from a local tribe, someone who's been enslaved from a local tribe who's been brought to the United States. He frees him and brings him back. It's a phenomenal story. It's a great classic Phantom canon story because, as all the Phantom fans know, the Phantom's been around for over 400 years, so the stories that can be told with regards to the Phantom have an extremely long lifespan. And as we all know, the Phantom lives forever. That's why he's the ghost who walks. With this book, I wanted to give you an example of how the digital reconstructions are done. And I want to start with issue 67. Issue 67 of the Charlton Phantom is the first time that Don Newton worked on the strip. We'll get to page 67. We'll get to issue 67 here. And as you can see, here is the cover in the book together with the first page. And I want you to notice how we've cleaned everything up. We've left all of the original Ben-Day dots in place. We haven't painted anything out. And we've cleaned it up as much as you possibly can. One thing that Phantom fans have to remember, here's the cover from this is the actual comic book. You could see what it looks like and what we've removed and cleaned it up. But focus on this for a moment, if you will. Here's the actual first page. You can see this part here is the indicia, which is the publishing information. And as you go through the book, you can see that the colors that the pages have turned. You can see precisely what the reproduction in this comic book is versus ours. Look how clean and sharp that is. It is actually a better reproduction than in the comic book. We scanned the comic book and did look at these two pages and compare them to what you previously saw. And this is what we did throughout the book. Now let me just make one thing very clear. Obviously, a lot of the printing in these books, for those of you that don't know it, was the worst printing in the comic book industry. Some of these stories look incredibly awful in terms of their printing. We have not painted in solid colors. We have not destroyed the halftone screens of these stories. We have fixed them the best that you can without destroying them and changing them. And that's no small order. Two people worked for quite a long time getting this particular book to the point where we felt it looked right. And that's important to take into consideration because you're never going to get something that's perfect when you start out with something that's highly imperfect. But the stories in this book are absolutely phenomenal. Without giving too much away, Don Newton went from giving us a new origin of the Phantom in issue 67, which is a compelling retelling of the Phantom, the 21st Phantom's origin. And it doesn't take anything away from Lee Fox telling. And the artwork is just absolutely phenomenal. Don Newton, as is explained in the prefatory essay, had tried to get in the business for many years, but because he lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and was unwilling to locate in New York, he tried unsuccessfully to get jobs working for the big companies, and he worked in fanzines, did lots and lots of work for fanzines, did a lot of work utilizing the Phantom as well, became an assistant to C.C. Beck, who created Captain Marvel. Learned a lot from him. They parted company. Later on, John Newton actually did the Big Red Cheese at DC Comics after he worked on the Phantom, and Charlton had ended the Phantom comic book line with issue 70. I believe it's issue 76. Let's check to make sure I'm not. Oh, it's issue 74. See, I have to check. I'm not perfect. Anyway, point is, this book collects all of these stories. They're meticulously restored as best as they can be restored without damaging the way they would originally look. It completely collects all of his stories. There are stories in here also that were done by Dan Herman and Frank Boley. So you have a mix. As a matter of fact, one of the covers was done by Don Newton, and then the interior art was done by Don Sherman. A fantastic book. The book is rather long. It's 256 pages. The other thing that we did with this book, which I thought was nice, was we included the fan mail, which they were beginning to run in the Phantom comic books. So we didn't leave anything out. So you'll get a feel for the actual books. We even have some original art in here. Here's a page of original art, which was scanned directly from the original. And you can compare it. This is from the first appearance of the. This is from Don Newton's first story in Phantom 67. And here's the page. Actually, it's the second page after the actual emergence of the 21st Phantom after his father is killed. And it's a phenomenal. The page before it is phenomenal. I'll show you both pages. And you can compare this with the original art and see how our reproduction is very, 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 very close to the original art. It's obviously been it's been colored in, and then we've digitally fixed it. But you can see how very little detail no detail has been lost, actually. And then, of course, you see here, this is the introduction of the 21st Phantom, this is the Phantom Blitz. Anyway, I'm very satisfied with this book, and I think you will be too. The book has obviously been printed. It's in transit from our printer in China. It should be available in about 4 weeks in the United States. You can pre-purchase it on our website. The response on this book has been very good, and of the print run, a substantial portion of it has already been purchased. If you love the Phantom, you're going to love the Don Newton Phantom. Just a phenomenal book. I'm so happy we were able to do all of these books. All 5 volumes of the Charlton Phantom are done now, and it's just something that I always wanted to do, and I think it came out very well. I hope everyone agrees with me. So, if you want to get the book before anybody else, you can buy it on our website, and you will get it before anybody else, and I believe we're also giving a discount to boot, so you'll get a discounted copy before anybody else in the world gets it. That being said, enjoy. Any questions? Email me at Hermes Press. That's all for now. Bye-bye.